opportunities to like have Waylon, from A Killer's Confession, formerly of Mushroomhead, be on a track, and we worked with Christian Machado, formerly of El Nino, now of Lions at the Gates. He produced some songs that we'll be releasing that he helped us with. So gotten a lot of amazing opportunities due to networking and what have you.
Awesome. Now another question would be, how did the masks come about? Like the personas that go with the mask. How was that brought about?
So I always wanted to do masks, and I've been a huge fan of, obviously Slipknot, Mudvayne. They were my first concert I ever saw, and once I saw that, I'm like, you know what? When I play someday, I'm gonna sing and be in a band. I want to entertain, and I want to put an image to a sound and do all that like they did. And so that I always knew I wanted to do that with a project. Tried doing it with former projects that I was in. Didn't really work since the other people in the bands didn't really want to do that whole thing. So when I started my own project, I'm like, this is going to have an image. It's going to have a show. That's going to fit with the music. As far as the look, it's evolved over the years. We started out with finger paint, no joke. Like we were gooping that shit all over our faces and whatnot. And eventually evolved into us having masks because it's easier, faster, and we got in touch with some mask makers and had those made. So it's one of those things where I wanted to make sure that when people came out and saw us, they would remember us, whether we got clowned and people made fun of the look or whatever, or people were scared or people were intrigued or whatnot. I knew it would leave a lasting impression, give people something to talk about. Also, when you hear the music, it is kind of funky, weird, metalish, danceish, techno-ish, whatnot. It's got, I don't know, I feel like the image, the weird images with the music, the weird sound of it kind of goes hand in hand with it. I can't imagine us, like, if we were playing live without some sort of image. We've tried doing that before a couple of times where we toned down big time on the makeup and the masks and all that. Didn't really go by. It felt naked up on stage. It's kind of like, just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
But each member kind of just has evolved their look. And I don't want to speak for them. For myself, I've always kind of seen myself as kind of like my persona is kind of like a demon / tempting with the lyrics. Not really a good guy, not really a bad guy, but somewhere in between. So I've always kind of had like this image of myself, anyways. That's kind of demonic, but at the same time, not full on monster devil.
Yeah, it's kind of like walking that line.
Yes, exactly. And it's like I leave it up to the listener when they're listening to the lyrics to make up their mind about what the song's about, and how they feel about it, or what side of the fence of whatever it is that I'm singing about. They're coming from. I think with the newer stuff that we're putting out now, it's a little bit more personal, so it's not really like just before we're asking people to take a look at how certain things are and question it. This is more personal life stuff that I think people will really be able to relate with and whatnot. So excited to start sharing some of that stuff with people to see a little bit more of a personal side. But yeah, I think the makeup and the masks, that kind of just is one big thing with the music and the sound that we kind of had. And the idea was there in the very beginning. And in the very beginning, I mean, we had a lot more props on stage too. I don't know, that would fly nowadays, but we would have like these empty little cap pill things that were black and white that we would throw out in the crowd and made it look like we were throwing pills at the crowd. And we threw raw meat at one point. We were throwing like actual raw meat, like cow testicles and cow hearts and whatnot. There were shows that we threw those out at and just to gross out the crowd.
I seen that in the interview. You ended up pouring a bucket of real cow blood and stuff on you.
On accident, yes. We were playing a rock.
Got it mixed up.
It was ridiculous, man. I lost my voice mid-stage too because I was so grossed out and I was hacking and puking up, and we had some fire extinguisher on stage that went off because my brother had let his drum set on fire, and the smoke got in my lungs, and I lost my voice mid through the set, and it was chaos. But we got some advice that we probably should not ever do that again because with lawsuits and whatnot, and health hazards. And what's funny is we have a story that we played with Wayne Static from Static X. He had came through town, and when we were throwing the meat, we were the opening band for his act, and we were throwing the meat at the crowd, the raw meat. Somehow, I think the pair of the testicles from the cow ended up in their merch booth. They didn't say anything to us that night, but the next time we played with them, they remembered us. And I think it was their tour manager. He's like, "Oh, I remember you guys." He's like, "You guys better not have those cow testicles or any cow parts again. Last time you guys ended up throwing some stuff that ended up in our merch booth. We had a pair of testicles and whatnot." And we're like, "Yeah, that was a one-time thing that we did at that show, and we don't plan on doing it again." But like, I mean, we've gone anywhere from having blow-up dolls on stage and throwing them out in the crowd and having people just crowd surf it and all sorts of crap. Just we like to entertain. We like to leave people feel like they've had a show, even though if it's a local show or we're playing with a national act or what have you. We want to make sure that people remember us and they're entertained and just leave that lasting impression, because there is so many bands out there anymore. It's really easy for people to be like, all right, what's the next thing? We just don't want to be forgotten, and we want to make sure that people get a show and they're entertained, they remember us.
Right. It's important. It's not just the music. You got to be able to entertain the crowd.
It's the whole thing, man. It's the whole package. It really is. Like, as entertainers, I always tell people I'm an entertainer first and then a musician. I definitely don't consider myself a super talented vocalist or anything close to that. I like to entertain, I like to make people laugh, I like to make people mad, I like to make people question things. I like to, whatever it is that I do, if I bring out emotion in you, that's the whole reason why I do this.
Yep. Here's a little question for you. This is something that I kind of heard while going through some of your interviews and doing some research. Do you still listen to Katy Perry?
I listen to all sorts of music. So pop music and pop music, country music, man, rock, metal, rap. I listen to it all. If it's good, it's good. The Katy Perry track, I always liked the Kanye West version that he was on. When I heard that, I was like, oh, I like this. Never thought we'd cover it or anything like that. And then I think it was my former producer that was like, well, why don't we do E.T.? It's got Kanye West on it, and we can make that a AOD version. But I've always told people, like, American Overdose is kind of like if I'm describe the sound, if like Marilyn Manson and Lady Gaga had sex and had a baby, American Overdose is probably what the sound would be like. Or some of our earlier tracks, and even still now, we use dance beats, and the structure of the songs are very pop oriented. So there's always going to be an element of pop to our sound. Definitely don't claim to be a brutal heavy metal band. I don't ever see us as being a brutal heavy metal band. We're heavy, and we have our heavy parts, we have our pop parts, we have our weird industrial elements. We're influenced by EDM, influenced by all sorts of stuff. So Katy Perry is really hot, so there's that.
Well, it definitely works for you guys. I mean, it's like
it does.
Like what you're saying. I listen to all genres of music, except for I'm not so much into classical and opera, stuff like that. And that's from working those shows. I heard enough of it.
You're like, all right, had enough, no more. But that's good, man. It's good to have an open mind, because like you can draw influences regardless of whether it's lyrical or musical or just something from those artists. And Lady Gaga is another person I would say that definitely influenced American Overdose. We had a Backstreet Boys cover song that we were going to do that we never actually released, but we were going to do a version of an American Overdose version of Everybody by Backstreet Boys at one point. Never saw the light of day, but we were going to do one of those, do it as a cover at one point. And we've talked about doing covers, and it's just, cover is one of those things. It's like, if I'm going to do a cover of something, it's going to be a cover of something that doesn't sound like us or is not us. And if we did do one of us, it'd probably be something live that we would do, and we probably emulate it exactly like it is. If we're going to cover like a Mudvayne song, for example, we would do a Mudvayne song, we'd do it just like them.
Yeah.
But if we're going to take the time to go in the studio and record something and put something together, it's going to be out of our genre, or if it is in our genre, we're going to change it and make it more American Overdose, add lots of piano, keyboards, and the dance beats or whatever that we mix in our stuff. But yeah, I do listen to all forms of music. People sometimes, the funny thing is they'll say like, "Oh, does this bother you?" They always assume that I just listen to heavy music or industrial music or rock music only, and I'm like, I worked as a bartender a long time ago, and I heard all sorts of music, so it was really easy for me to change my moods of what I wanted to listen to or what was being played. And if I really didn't like it, because a lot of times when you work at a bar, you're going to hear a lot of the same music over and over. I have a really good method of just being able to filter things right through and just focus on something else. And so,
yeah. Now this is like a 2-part question. During your time on tour, what was it like touring and being at the Gathering of the Juggalos as well as touring with Mushroom Head?
Oh my goodness! So the Gathering of the Juggalos, that was the summer before the Mushroom Head tour. So the Gathering of the Juggalos, I don't know if I could put that into words, to be perfectly honest with you, man. Like, I'm not a Juggalo. Definitely have respect for their fan base, because they've always been really awesome to us. When we played out there, they were very kind. They loved us, bought merch, and partied with them. And we've opened up some shows for some of the rappers that are on the label, and always had a good turnout, and the fans receive us really well. But the first night that we got there right about midnight, 1 o'clock ish in the morning, and our campground that we had to go through, because we rented a vehicle. We rented a truck. We packed up in a truck, brand new, like 2015 Ford something, and just all were jam packed. Cruised from here all the way out to Ohio, and then loaded all the gear and everything into a U-Haul. Soon as we get in there, it's chaos everywhere. Just people partying. 45,000 people in this open field. We didn't know what to expect, and we had to drive through the area where one of the main stages was at, and it was loaded. I forget who was the band that was playing. Someone, I could have sworn it was like, I don't know if it was 3-6 Mafia or who it was. It was somebody that was a big act, and there was just a massive crowd there. So we clearly weren't going to get through to go set up our campground or anything. So we waited. We parked our vehicle like right at the edge of where everything was going on, and we had people running up to the truck, and they were saying all sorts of crazy shit, like, "Let me see your asshole," or some shit like that. There's weird shit like that. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, people throwing they're throwing beers at us to get, chug and whatnot. And just, there's chaos everywhere. And I've been to music festivals, but I've never been to anything like this before. Like, to be honest with you, been to plenty metal festivals, and nothing compares to what I saw there. That's for sure. So eventually we get in there, we're setting up tent like at 3 o'clock in the morning. Got a little bit of rest, but with the party's nonstop there. People are being loud, and you got people all around you, tents and whatnot. They didn't have a private section for us or anything like that, or the bands that were performing. Wake up the next morning to people just yelling, setting fireworks off, chugging beers. I walk out of my tent, and I'm like, I gotta take a piss. I go right down this little pathway thing, and there's like people just hosing each other down, completely naked, men and women, and just like, just saw some shit that I'm just like, wow. It was a blast. Would I do it again? Probably. I probably wouldn't spend the full 5 or 4 days that we spent there. There was no way for us to shower. They had a shower thing there, but the lines were like 4 or 5 hours long. I wasn't going to wait in the heat for that. There was a lot of chaos, man. Like, there was people walking around with signs that said, hits of acid, $5. I've got mushrooms, $20 for a bag, and just freely walking around, like selling anything and everything they could, water, alcohol. Um, they had a fair that was there, that the fairgrounds, and we got a little tipsy and drank some booze and whatnot, and got on the fair. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure those guys were like frying on acid or something when they're the carnies that were having us go on the little spin wheel things, and there's no seatbelts on these rides, and it's like we got out of there alive with all of our limbs. We got lucky. But it was chaos, dude. Like we played at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I think my brother, the other vocalist, Pito, the Filth, he ended up. We watched our friends in El Nino play because they played on a different stage than us, but they played right before we played, and we rocked out to them. My brother, we were up in the front row. My brother, as he's jumping up and down, got shoved from the back as people were moshing. He hit his head on the end of the rail. Ended up getting like a concussion and was bleeding. But after the set was done, we ran right over to our area. We were able to perform. We put on I think a 45-minute set and kicked ass. The crowd loved us. And right afterwards, my brother Pete was not feeling very well. So I walked him over to the emergency area that they had there. They checked him out, stitched him up a little bit. I put Band-Aids and whatnot. We had the unfortunate thing of seeing a girl being rolled in by the ambulance and the police following her. And we're like, what the hell's going on here? Like we thought like maybe or something at some point at one of the stages. Later we come to find out that some guy had raped her, I guess, like drugged her and raped her. And so the police were there taking reports in the emergency room from her and what have you. And we found out the next day, his own friends, the guy that did it, ratted him out. And, obviously a bunch of people found him, beat the living piss out of him. And that was that, but rightfully deserved.
Yeah, that shit's
so
not cool.
No, hell no. Especially at a festival and all that shit, man. Like, what the fuck you thinking? Like, but they got what was coming to them.
I've thumped a dude before he kept reaching like up this girl's skirt who was crowd surfing. And it's like,
creepers.
Let the ladies, it's like the ladies have every right to be there and enjoy.
Exactly.
Because in a lot of cases, the ladies are the ones who spend the most money when it comes to buying music. And
then you want everyone to feel safe, man. Like you don't want people fucking being like, oh, those people that band brings that kind of crowd that's going to do that kind of shit. And it just gives a bad rep for all of the bands there and whatnot. And all it takes is one or two people to ruin it for the bunch. And so fucking bullshit. We ended up playing, had a great time. And, we stuck there the 4 or 5 days afterwards. We literally went to the next exit when we left, and the truck stop that was right like outside of the freeway. I'm not kidding you when I say I took 3 showers in a row to get all of the dirt, the filth, and whatnot off of me. Like it was just filth after filth after filth coming off of my body and whatnot. Total blast. Had a great time there. And then the Mushroomhead, the Mushroomhead tour that we did was really fun because we got to see all sorts of parts of the country that we had never seen and played at before. So we're very thankful that we got to be a part of that. We did it for 34, 35 days. We were on tour for that and gained a lot of fans. I would say that probably the majority of the fans that we have now, we gained from doing that tour because we were playing anywhere from 400 to 2,000 people a night on that tour, and playing small stages, big stages, and made a lot of friends on that tour and sold a lot of merch. I think we ended up making like $18,000 in merch sales. Obviously, we had to pay for hotels and vehicles and all that shit, but like to think that we were able to sell that much merch, tripped me out in a month. That was a blast. Obviously, that's when Waylon left Mushroomhead. 3 shows into it, I think, is when he ended up leaving the band. So that kind of made things a little bit weird because I'm friends with Waylon, and at the same time we were on the tour of the Mushroomhead. So we kept it professional and stayed out of that mess that was going on there.
Yeah.
But it was cool playing all these awesome venues that I had only heard of and read of. We got to play Harpos in Detroit. one of the biggest venues that Pantera's played at, and Slipknot's played it, and just a completely awesome historical venue. One of the things that I remember about that one was the security guards would not let us go out of our van into the venue or out of the venue into our van without them watching us, because it was in a really bad part of Detroit. And so they wanted to make sure that all of the bands were safe. And they basically told us, as soon as you're done playing, you should pack up and get out as far as you can away from here. Don't stop in the middle of if someone gets in the middle of the road trying to stop you, do not stop, because they're trying to rob you. And that was kind of weird and whatnot. But like, for the most part, the whole tour, we didn't have any craziness happen that you wouldn't expect on a tour. We partied, we made a lot of friends, and made friends with the band Mortis. They were on tour, and September Morning, they were a part of that tour as well. And so we had a blast, man. I would love to do that again. It was a buy-on tour that we did, and we made, it was worth every penny to get on that tour. And very thankful for the person that was helping us get around, kind of managing us a little bit. Her name is Brenda Neller, and she did an awesome job helping us secure getting a recording with Waylon on our track and getting on that tour. So I would say those two tours definitely stand out for sure for me.
Now, what was your main influence when you were young and just starting to get into music? When what got you to start singing and realizing, this is what I want to do?
So singing wise, so music wise, what really got me into music first, and what really got me influenced into like heavy music, was my cousin introduced me to 3 CDs that I always tell people about. And it was Metallica's Black Album, it was Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power, and Korn, the self-titled album. So it's like 90, what was it, 94, I think it was, when he introduced me to all, like when that happened, 94, 95, something like that. When I heard that, I was like, oh, hell yes. Because I was always just used to like listening to what was on the radio or whatever whatever my parents played around. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh, hell yes. I like this. This is aggressive. It's different. It's, I can relate to it, and it's just chaos. Then I got into, I slowly started looking into other bands. I don't know if you remember when those magazines were coming out. Was it BMG or whatnot? They would send out those, you buy 12 CDs for a penny or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they mail them to you. So I definitely did that, and took advantage of that. And what's funny is I don't think I ever fucking actually officially paid for that shit. Like I think they would send you like a bill, and like I was underage, so obviously they couldn't do anything about that. But I remember ordering like Marilyn Manson. I ordered like Limp Bizkit, Cold Chamber. I ordered a bunch of shit off of those things, and it was basically just the CD. I would look at the CD case, and I would be like, oh, that looks like it might be interesting. Always liked rap music. Rap music was from another set of my cousins that would introduce me to that. But the heavy music is what like really got me like going and maybe intrigued. It wasn't until I went to my first concert, which was, like I said, Slipknot and Mudvayne, and then a band called 1 Minute Silence. Mudvayne didn't even have an album out yet. They were touring with Slipknot for their first tour, and their album wasn't going to come out for several months later. Slipknot was touring their self-titled album. This was 2000, and I saw Mudvayne. I'm like, holy shit, these guys are amazing. And like I said, the makeup and everything, the whole show. And then I saw Slipknot, and I'm like, I want to do that someday. And at home, just plugged in my dad's microphone that he had into the stereo, and I would sing along to my my CDs and whatnot, learn the lyrics and try to do the growls and all that. Picked up the acoustic guitar that my dad had, and taught myself to read tabs off the internet. And that's basically how that all started for music. And I started getting in bands when I was in high school with my best friends, and we would jam along to Godsmack and Slipknot and Metallica and Pantera, anything we could learn quickly and just jam to. And then, obviously, eventually your friends go their own ways. And then I started playing with local musicians through local musician ads on the internet. There was a thing called Portland, I believe it was called portlandmusician.com. where you could network with people. And so I would jam with different musicians, different bands. Played around the area for a while with different bands, but never had my own official band that I could claim my own. And I was tired of starting over and over and over and over and over again. Like, what did the band plays a couple shows and breaks up? You have to do the whole writing thing again. So eventually, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start my own band. I'm going to own it. It's going to be my name. It's going to be my vision and whatnot. And that's when I started Amerakin Overdose. Was after playing in several local bands that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I like hearing how the name evolved. I found that very interesting. If you could, go ahead and share that with everybody.
Well, the name really came from. So I'd always been looking for names. I want something because if you remember, 2008, there was a lot of the countries did not like America. We were in the news for being in the war in Iraq, and I want something that's kind of controversial and kind of uses the American name and be able to use the flag and that kind of stuff. But I don't want to be super political either. Like, I'm not trying to be Rage Against the Machine or anything like that. And so I'm like, well, what can I have? And I wanted something that had some attitude to it. And I'm like, I played around with some different names here and there, and eventually I'm like, well, what if I took like the American attitude and the name, and we just shove it down people's throats like we're known for doing and overdo it. And so I played around with a couple different words. Eventually, overdose sounded like the right thing for it, giving people an American overdose, a dose of America. And as far as the name, I kind of took the influence of a lot of the new metal bands were doing. They would change up the names, like Korn with the K instead of the C. I'm like, I want to do something like that too, where it stands out, and is not spelled the traditional way. So that's kind of where the name pretty much came from.
Yeah, I liked that whole process. It was like you put real thought into it. I know you.
Oh, you like a year. It took like a year.
Yeah, checking and making sure nobody else had this one, and yeah.
Yep. Did a lot of Google searches, did a lot of YouTube searches, didn't find anything on there. And I'm like, this is a cool name. And then, the fact that I wasn't able to find anyone that had that name spelled the right way, and then let alone the wrong way, I'm like, this is a good name. I like it. Now it kind of bites us in the ass because people always spell it either the right way, like the Americans spell it the right way, or they want to spell it with the K-A-N. So they spell it,
American.
They spell American, which that works. Whatever. I don't usually correct them, but on flyers I'll see it occasionally that people still spell it that way. It is what it is. But it was definitely. It took about a year to do that because I was messing with all sorts of names that I won't even go into because they're just so stupid. But the name stuck, and once I shared it with some friends, they're like, "Yeah, that's a cool name." Bingo, we got it.
Now, if you could share with us, who's the other members of the band? I know you've had as you said, you had 2 returning members.
Yes. So the other members would be my brother, which he is Agapito, or Pete the Filth is what he goes by, Perez. He's the second vocalist, and he helps a lot with the business side of things. Like, he's really good with promoting, and he's really good with helping us negotiate and making sure shit's flying straight. Then we have Brick. He's been the one and only, well, not the one and only drummer. He's been the drummer since the beginning for pretty much. He was the first drummer of the band. And so he's been with me for a long time. He left for like 6 months and then came back. But he's been there since the beginning as well. And then we have Starby, who plays bass. She's been with us. She was with us in 2015, left for some time, and then, like I said, recently came back. And then also her husband, which is the guitar player, Freeman Manfrey, or Bishop Freeman. He's the guitar player, and he was with us since like 2010. It was the fall of 2010, and up until the end of 2015, they left, and then they came back recently in the fall. They're also in another band called Toxic Zombie, punk rock band they play in. So check them out as well if you're looking for new music.
I've actually
they have a kick-ass group.
I've heard of them
So they're
through another Twitch streamer who he plays a lot of punk music, Johnny Thunder.
Johnny Thunder. Okay, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
they play in that band out here in this neck of the woods. So another kick-ass band to check out. And then right now, we've got a longtime producer that's been helping us since the beginning, but he was playing live keyboards and guitar at one point. Human, he's helping produce some of the songs for us. Has been since the beginning, but now also with some of the newer shit, he's helping us finish up some of the stuff that we started with him. And then we also have another producer that I've been working with out in the Ukraine, who produced the recent track that we put out in August, which is Agastopia. His name is Nicolas, and he's out from the Ukraine. He's been helping us produce a lot of the newer stuff as well. So
Awesome.
I consider the producers part of the band still, because they make the sound, they take our ideas, and they basically blow them up to what they become.
Right. And that's cool that you're not just cutting it off at the band. It's just the band, because there's a lot of other people. It's like, even with shows, it's not just the band. You got people that make it possible for that band to get up there and do that stuff.
Well, exactly. Your sound guy, your light guy, the venue, security, the door people. It takes a whole village to make it, man. It's like people tend to forget that, and but
yeah.
I'm always very thankful for everybody, because we even have friends of ours that come on, like they've came on the tours with us, and they help us load shit up. They help us sell merch. They help us load, get things up on stage. If something goes wrong in the middle of the show, they're up there real quick to fix it. If we need, some cameraman taking pictures or taking video, driving us around, whatever the case may be, we've been very lucky to have some kick-ass friends that have helped us out. I'll give a shout out to our buddy Brassy, who's been awesome at helping our drummer Brick, but also helped with, not just with the drums, but helping with everything, from doing merch, taking pictures, to driving, and all sorts of shit. So very thankful for all of our friends that we've had. And even I'll give a shout out to all of our former people that have been in the band. The name, like you said, is something that we've worked on over the years. And, without even former members that helped us, play those shows or get to do it and promote what we've done, this band wouldn't be what it is today.
Right. And there's a video you guys got, the Great American Ring.
Oh, yes.
How did that come about? I absolutely love it. I get a little grossed at the very ending, but the shock value, it's perfect. But how did that come about?
We wanted to make it as cheesy and funny as possible. There's like little inside jokes that we included in there, but obviously there's a lot of jokes that even if you don't know the band, you're like, that's pretty funny. That came about, basically, we were like, because we like to joke around, and we have a lot of videos that we'll put together of us just messing with each other, and we like to have a good time and clown around and show people that we're not like trying to be this big scary band, that we're not trying to be fake. We're fucking humans just like you. And I grew up on watching Jackass and the Jerky Boys and that kind of stuff. So like, we're not trying to put on this fake image that we're this big scary band, and we're not human, and like not like everybody else. So we wanted to make fun of ourselves, and we're like, let's find some of the shit that we hear people say about us on the internet and just kind of like turn up the volume on that. And so a lot of those jokes are basically the way some people look at us, whether it's our friends or people that don't like us for whatever reason from other bands, or people that just don't like us that go to shows because they think that we're fucking American Overdose and we're a bunch of jackoffs that just, play poppy metal music or whatever the hell the case may be. So we were like, let's make a video of us making fun of ourselves and show people that we have a good sense of humor and we can do this. And so we got a really good friend of mine, Jimmy, who's also another musician and a kick-ass friend of mine, that we felt would be perfect for the part, because we have this fictional character that we created named Ronald Roofy. And we've always used him over the years for numerous things, but we never had like a video of him. And I'm like, Jimmy, I think you'd be perfect for this. And I'm pretty sure that like you can just own that character and say what's on your mind and just fucking ream us one and just give us a good, fucking bullying session. And sure enough, like most of that stuff was, I don't think any of it actually was scripted. We knew what we kind of wanted to do. As far as towards the end when we did the blow up scene and you know the guy was our former bass player Brandon blew up and turned into shit. But as far as like most of that was all ad lib, man. That was all from just like on the spot shooting it and just going with it. If you can tell in the video that I'm a horrible actor, so like I'm laughing my ass off, and like especially when I'm on the couch, I'm like trying to hold my face back from showing that I'm laughing because that was all shot like mostly in one take, and it was just coming out of his mouth like fucking just all these insults, and I'm just like, this is fucking great. I'm like, this is good stuff. Keep it going. So it was mostly us just wanting to make fun of ourselves and we shot a couple inside jokes in there and whatnot, and so since people like the people that don't like us say that we're complete shit, we're like, what if we had this happen? And you know, so that's why at the end he goes, "Yep, tastes like American Overdose." After he licks the shit off the toilet.
Yeah.
And well, the funny thing is too, like to this day, I laugh because that's done at my former producer's house, Human. You can still see on the wall in the toilet, like they scrubbed the shit out of that. They tried cleaning it. It was chocolate fudge. You can still see like the faint brown color on the wall, which sucks for him because like, you know, it's still on there and whatnot. But it's pretty funny. I always laugh every time I go in there.
Oh yeah, that was when I seen that. It's like I like watching. I don't know about everybody else that's tuned in at the time, but I make sure I play it at least 3 times while I'm live on stream, and I've even watched it just sitting here while
That's
I'm
awesome.
doing
That's
something, and it's just like I won't get tired of that one. And
it's pretty funny.
I could tell you really struggled when he made the Kardashian joke.
Oh God, yeah. With everything he was saying, I was just like, man, this guy should be a stand-up comedian. He's great at insulting us, and just the things that were coming out of his mouth. I'm like, fucking, like I just could not stop laughing, and I'm just like, I'm a horrible actor. That's proof that I couldn't do Hollywood shit because of that.
Yeah, when he was like, you smell like I don't know if you smell like shrimp or pussy, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Bad shrimp or bad pussy or something like
Yeah.
that. He's like, I can't tell.
Yeah, that was just I loved it. Absolutely
Yeah.
loved it. Now, are you
Yeah,
guys going to be doing any shows or any plans on possibly getting on a tour?
So we don't have any plans for shows right now, and no tours. The goal is for sure to be playing some shows regionally in 2023. So by regional, I mean anywhere in Oregon, Idaho, Washington, possibly California, and Nevada, Arizona. So like around that area. As far as touring, it would have to make sense for us to do it. You know, obviously with gas prices as crazy as they are, and us
Yeah.
having day jobs as well, and now you know my brother's got a family and whatnot. So like it's you know there's some bumps on the road, but we do plan on playing some shows. Just nothing is planned yet. Nothing's been discussed as far as when and where. Um, Tours, it would probably be something where we would want to tour with somebody that we know for sure, you know, can bring a crowd. We did an independent tour in 2018. That was fun, and you know we had some great shows, great turnouts, and then you know there were some shows that were you know more of a struggle to do. But right now, nothing planned for shows. It's mostly media that we're focusing on. We have lots of new music that we're working. We have pretty much a new single in the chamber that we want to release. We just have to shoot the video for it. It's basically the part 2 of Agastopia. You know, if you get what the song is about, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the character, the victim, versus an Agastopia. It's the devil or the music industry talking to the person or to the entertainer. And the next single is going to be the victim or the entertainer singing their part. So just a little sneak peek on what the single might be like. The next single, and we're hoping that before the end of the year we'll release that.
Awesome. And definitely, you know, anytime you would want to jump on here, you know, you or one of the other guys, your brother or any of the other band members, if you'd want to jump on and do a takeover and basically you tell me what to play, I play it, and you guys cut up and do your thing. But I have a really big question. Have you given any thought to possibly jumping on Twitch, setting up a Twitch channel for the band and maybe doing something there?
We've talked about that, and it's a great idea. And we've all talked about it. It's just right now I control most of all the social media. Like I handle a lot of it for the band, and like the thought of having to do another one and put a lot of focus in that just like drives me nuts. So I think some of the other guys may be doing, maybe some of the other members may be doing that. I think we already created one, so we may be putting focus into that because I know it's another great channel, and a lot of bands have seen a lot of success from doing that, and so. I think that you'll likely see something like that. I'll mention it again to the guys because they brought it up. We've talked about it, and it's funny you mention it because I've heard a lot of people say, "You guys need a Twitch. You guys need a Twitch." I've only used it a couple times to watch a couple of the artists that I like that have their own channels, but I've never gone on Twitch myself, so I don't even know where to begin with it. But yeah, very likely that we'll see a Twitch channel in the future, and hopefully it's not me handling it.
It's really,
But I would love.
it's not that bad. It really is. I am computer illiterate and I do all my own stuff. And YouTube, YouTube has been my best friend when it comes to figuring out what I need to do. And I think it would be awesome if you guys did, even if it's, if you're doing once a month to where you and the guys just get together and it's just a little jam session. You're, working on a song or working on some riffs or whatever.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And that's a great idea. I know we have in our jam spot, we have you've got cameras in there. So we've talked about possibly using that as well to be able to live stream. But that's actually a good idea. Maybe doing a song or two or a whole practice on Twitch might be the first way to get people over to our channels by letting them know that we're going to do a jam session or something like that.
Oh yeah. And it will definitely draw you a fan base that can be international. Because like I said, I've got people that tune in from Brazil, Philippines, Australia, Germany. I mean, all over.
That is badass, dude. That's awesome. And who would have thought that we'd be able to do that? Like when I think about like we're talking about in the earlier days of playing the music where you have to hand out flyers outside of shows and shit. Now it's like you can be in California or Oregon and fucking reach people out in Australia, Brazil.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, they think that it's the decay of a lot of things. And in a way, there is an obsession with it. And some people, it gets to a point to where it's actually unhealthy.
But, for sure.
But for like bands like yourself, especially being independent, that is a really good way for you to network and get your name out there, make contacts. And yeah, so I find it streaming. I love. I started on Mixer, and I almost made partner when they shut it down, and then I came to Twitch, and it's like I've only been streaming now for a year, as far as doing a radio program, and it's exceeded all my expectations. But the biggest thing I love about it, it's not anything where people are, supporting the channel in a financial way. It's none of that. It's just being able to meet people from all around the world or all across the country that without doing this, I would have never had the opportunity to meet.
That's fucking awesome. I think you said were you a former musician yourself?
I used to play drums. Yeah.
That's the great thing about doing music or podcasting and whatnot. It gives you another reason to meet people and get to know the people and make friends and share stories and and network, man. That's what I love about music too, is like being able to do that kind of stuff. And I met you through someone that we mutually know together, and that's how it happens. And it's fucking cool how that with social media we're able to do that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good tool to be used. It definitely is.
100%.
I don't want to hold you up too long. I know you're on a doggy dad duty.
Oh yeah, those little shits. They've been barking. They were barking before I started. I was gonna do it in my other room, and then I was like, nah, I better go in the studio room where I'm away from them because they're puppies. They're like 12 weeks old right now, so they're in that phase of just like being super needy. And the minute they hear my voice, or if they see me stand up to go anywhere, they like freak the hell out. And I have them in a little crate type of thing with their food and their little dog beds and whatnot, just because I don't want them roaming around and pissing everywhere. But
Oh yeah.
they're very attention craved. I love the hell out of them. They're the greatest thing, but they're very attention craved.
Yeah. I went from having pit bulls, big dogs, to my dog is, I've actually got an emote of my dog. She
And
weighs, she weighs 3.5 pounds.
oh my
She's,
goodness,
she's
full
6
grown.
years old, full grown.
Oh my god,
And she's the
that's
only one
adorable.
like her in the world. There's no other ones like it. And the people
And
that are part of that breed society, they got upset with me for having her fixed. And it was like,
ooh,
I don't have her for the purpose of,
making
breeding her.
money. Yeah, making money and all that shit. No, that's. I mean that. I was not a big fan of little dogs back in the day, but then my last dog that passed away, a couple months ago, he stole my heart when I met him, and then after that, I'm like, I need another one. I need to get the same kind of breed. It was such a good breed, and so I got these two little guys, and they make your house like they have little dogs, huge personalities. They
Oh
make your
yeah.
house, homey, and I love that.
Oh yeah. It's as soon as you walk through the door, you know that you're going to be greeted by someone that loves you
Loves you
unconditionally.
exactly, exactly.
They actually love you more than they love themselves.
Oh God, yeah, and they can sense. What's crazy about little dogs or dogs in general, they can sense when something's wrong, and they're right there for you. And it's crazy. Like I always tell people, I'm like I don't have kids, but I can imagine that how I feel for my dogs is probably how people feel about with their children and shit and what it's like. So
Yeah. Well, it's like I have children. They're grown. Thank God. But it's like my dogs, I had a beagle and I didn't want no more dogs. I had a pit that was stolen and then they took her to the Humane
oh
Society. She gets euthanized by them because she was a pit. And
oh my God.
after that, I was like, no more dogs for me. And then it came about to where a friend I knew, they had gotten her mom when she was terminal with cancer. They got her a beagle puppy because she liked beagles. And after she passed, they didn't really care for the dog. They didn't want it. And they asked me if I would take it, and I'm like, nah, I don't want no more dogs. And they're like, well, I was like, you got to be able to find somebody, it's a good dog. And they're like, you was the last one. And it's like, we're going to take it to the Humane Society. And I was like, oh, hell no, you're not.
No, yeah, hell
I was
no.
like, I'll take him. And I had him for 20 years. He was 21 years old
Oh my
when he
goodness,
passed
lived a
away.
long life.
Oh yeah. I never in my life
Oh,
would have thought I'd ever have a dog that many years.
oh
But
no, that's a long time. That
I
must have
went
been really tough for you. That's ugh.
it was, but knowing it's like he didn't want to go. He wasn't ready to leave me. But it was like, I had to take him and go have him
Yeah.
put down. And just the shot that the first one, which is the one that's supposed to relax them, he passed with that one. He was that far.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I keep him. I got him cremated, and I have some of his ashes in this cross up. Hangs on my mic. He's with me every single morning.
Nice.
And
I got my ashes too. Like I haven't gotten put in anything yet, but I'm planning on doing something special with them as well. And people think I'm crazy, but I got my I don't know if you ever seen those cuddle dog things, like they were make replicas of your dog.
yeah,
I had a replica made of mine before he passed, and I put them side by side, and you could not like tell what the difference between the two because they did such a good job
yeah.
in making an exact replica of him. So I have him in my office here, and so I always look at it for memories, and I got tons of video of mine, and so like I will always remember him.
Oh
Now I
yeah.
got these boys that distract me, so they keep me busy.
Now you got a whole lot more love to give.
For sure, 100%.
Well, I got to thank you again for coming on, and you guys are, you and the rest of the band, you guys are welcome here at any time. If you're wanting to promote something, you want to come on, speak on it, whatever the case may be.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you for
are
that.
more than welcome here.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say next time we should do the whole band or at least a couple more members. That way they can be a part of it too. And you can harass them and give them some shit.
Well, I asked you one question when we wasn't doing the actual interview. And, I'm not going to bring that up because I know that that's just a whole nother thing. But like I had said, I respected you for speaking up about that shit.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And needs to be more people that do that. Too many people just, oh, well, if it's not affecting me, big deal. And it's like, why wait until it does affect you? Say something now.
Yeah, no, 100% for sure. I'm a mouth that can't keep shut, man. Sometimes it gets me in trouble.
I'm the same way. I used to tell people I keep a roll of Charmin toilet paper next to me because I open my mouth and shit will come out.
I like that.
Gotta wipe it.
I like that.
But yeah, thanks again for being on here. And I can't thank you enough to be. Yes.
I apologize. There's a couple of questions we're behind on. First one is what was your favorite venue to play at and why?
My favorite venue to play and why. So I would say we played the Roseland Theater here in Portland, 2015. We opened up for American Head Charge, Filter, and Combi Christ and Coal Chamber. The reason why it's my favorite venue is because it took my concert virginity. That's where I saw Slipknot, Mudvayne, and 1 Minute Silence when I was a kid. That was the very first concert. So for me to be up on that stage, I was like, holy shit, I'm here at one of my favorite theaters to see shows at in town where I, lost my concert virginity. So I would say that the Roseland Theater in Portland.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I know that there was another question. I believe it was, is there any other members from other bands that you toured with that you became friends with and still remain in contact with?
So I've stayed in contact with. I mean, there's been bands. I don't know how many, like what status they mean by that, but like Aru from El Nino / Lions at the Gate. I've stayed in contact with him. He helped us write some of the songs on the Great American Dream album. I flew down there to Colorado where he lives, and he helped produce some of the songs. And I've stayed in contact with him here and there. Christian Machado, from his former singer of El Nino, now Lions at the Gate. Like I said, he produced the newer stuff that we're doing. So, I've stayed in contact with him on that. Waylon, I've stayed in contact with Waylon from Killer's Confession, formerly Mushroom Head singer. He was on a track with us, and he was my vocal coach as well. Recently got in contact with me to check in on me and let me know if a fan was wanting a mask that I had. And I don't sell my mask, but I sold him a mask as a favor because Waylon asked me to talk to this guy that wanted the mask. Johnny Santos, if you guys remember the band Spine Shank, he lives here in Portland, so I'm friends with him. Stayed in contact with him. Trying to think here. Those are the ones that come to mind. But I made a lot of friends over the years, luckily, and I've been very blessed to play with a lot of my idols. And so, like when we've opened up, some of them recognize me, like, oh, it's Cody, blah blah blah, and like, so I mean, there's that, I guess.
Oh yeah.
And then you kind of touched base on this one a little bit, but it was from your earlier writings, what do you feel has been the biggest thematic shift in your writing style?
I would say, like I mentioned earlier, I'm tending to be more personal versus kind of super vague in the writing. I think like my earlier writing was very angsty, and over time I've learned that it's better to get personal and let people see a different side of you versus always the same, and switch it up. At the same time, I've also learned without not just being so super personal, but also opening up and um, using more ways to say something without actually directly saying it, if that makes sense. I like to leave it open for the imagination to be like, well, what? I know he doesn't necessarily mean that. What else could he mean by that? You know what I mean? Like um, it's not so like in your face, like blunt what I'm exactly saying. So I've learned to do that better. My earlier writings, I feel like it was just I used a lot of lyrics when I was going through something completely different, and in the beginning of American Overdose, I was very very young. I think I was 24 when I started it, and so now I'm 30, 36, and so it's been some time. So things have changed and matured over the years for sure.
It's definitely changed a lot for me
Yeah.
because
I have
I go back to like my teenage years were in the 80s, early and
oh
late 80s.
so the genres have definitely changed, and so is like a lot of things. Like
Oh
some things
yeah.
you could say back in the day, you definitely wouldn't be able to say nowadays without people taking it wrong or whatever, and then get you
Oh
in trouble
yeah.
and get you canceled.
Yeah, cancel police is out. They are begging to find something to offend them.
Always, man, always.
And that's one of the things that I've liked about what I've been going through on your music. And every time I listen to it, I'm trying to catch something new. And it, like you say, I can tell the difference in some of your earlier writings where it was kind of like in your face. And then
Yep.
as you progressed, it became more of a, okay, well, there's a hidden meaning. And then it's trying to figure it out. And in a lot of cases, I may not be correct on what the actual meaning is, but it's open for interpretation to where I can apply it to something.
And I
And
guarantee you that whatever you apply it to, that's then it makes it more personal to you because it means something to you, and this is how you took it in, and it's much more personal in that sense when it's something that you've interpreted a certain way versus if I'm doing something very blunt and just telling you what it is, then you're just like, oh well, that's what it's about. And then you kind of lose the mystery and the ominous of it. And I
yeah,
like music that kind of like you're looking for little Easter eggs here and there, and like and you can make it your own. Like when I listen to a song, like my favorite thing is just like I don't want to go look at an interview and see what's the song about. I like to put myself in that moment and really listen to the words. And then a song is to me is like kind of like a time machine when you look at it, because when you listen to a song, you remember exactly where you were when you first heard it, or if that song happened in a time in your life and you listen to it again after you haven't heard it for a while, it takes you right back to that moment. Like I can sometimes even smell the smells that were around me when I heard a certain song, or the feeling that I had when I heard that song, and what I was going through. How old was I? Where was I? Like that kind of stuff. So to me, music's always kind of been like a time machine of a sense. Like especially those songs that you really hold up to your heart, and then eventually you kind of forget about them for a while, and then they come back. Holy shit! I remember what I was when I first heard this song, and this song meant the world to me.
hey, here's another question. What advice or message would you give to new and upcoming artists?
What I would say is definitely pull from a lot of different influences, because what I hear a lot of nowadays is people will play they will write music and they want to sound exactly like one artist versus taking influences from different, and that doesn't have to be different genres. It could be different artists that are not the same. And I won't name specific genres, but there's genres out there that were just like you're like, okay, that sounds just like the last band I heard exactly. Like I can't tell the difference. So I would say like when you're writing your music, definitely pull from all different aspects. If you can pull outside of the one genre, great. That's just going to make your music even more diverse. I would say you want to promote a lot. You definitely don't want to give up. use any of the haters that try to bring you down. Use it as fuel to prove them wrong. Definitely don't put music out that you are not 100% sure of. So, you don't want to put something out that's just like the crappy recording. Invest money in your producers. Always hire a producer. It's always best to have someone, an outside source, listen to what you came up with, and then they, kind of give you guidance on that and help you. A producer is definitely worth it. So I would say invest in yourself for sure. Don't put out stuff just for the sake of it. You want to make sure that what you're putting out is going to be good. Otherwise, people will remember you by that. Those are the pieces of advice I would give.
No, that's good, solid advice.
And who is your favorite musician from any genre?
Favorite musician of any genre? It's gonna be Corey Taylor. Corey Taylor from Slipknot. That guy can do it all. He can sing, he can scream, he can rap, he can go into some weird elements of just stuff that you're just like, what? Like, just when you think you've heard him do it all, like you hear he impresses you. He can play guitar, he can songwrite. He's a great, great, great frontman. If you see him live, you know he controls the crowd and knows how to tame them. Never met him. I would love to meet him. He's on my top list of people that I'd love to meet. But his interviews, he just seems like he's a really down to earth person. Anything I've ever heard about him from people that I've heard from other people that have met him say that he's very humble and really awesome. Which for a person of his rock star status, that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, he's also an awesome storyteller.
That too. I was gonna say he can do stand up comedy. Like I've watched some of those YouTube videos, like where he was doing the acoustic guitar stuff, and then he'd do the stand up stuff. And when he was telling stories, I'm just like, oh my god, because he gets animated, he gets into it. Like that's gold. It's an entertainer. Goes back to that entertainer thing. He knows how to entertain. He can write books too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, like you said, I don't think there's pretty much anything that he can't do unless he decides he doesn't want to do it.
And that's another thing I've always seen in his interviews is like where he talks about like he's been offered a lot of money to do this or do that, and he's turning things down because if he can't put his heart into it and he doesn't feel like it's the right move for him, he doesn't do it. It doesn't matter the amount of money. I feel the same way too. Like I always have people hit me up that are like, hey, would you do a guest vocals on this or would you do guest vocals on that? And it's like I a lot of times I'm like, well, I have to feel it. Like if I hear the song and I know that I would be good for it, I'll do it. But just because I say I don't do it doesn't mean it's not good. It just means that my what I can come up with for it or what I feel I can bring to it, I don't feel confident enough to put my staple on it. So I totally respect that of him. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you got to protect your brand.
Got to protect your brand, and also like you don't want to make someone else look like a jackass because you didn't put all your soul into it because you weren't feeling it. And if you're not feeling something, I've had songs of ours that we've done numerous tracks. Like at one point, I think we had like 30 something songs, and we only whittled it down to 12, and we didn't do anything with the other ones. It's like if I'm not feeling it, regardless of how much time we put into it, I don't want to put something out just for the sake of putting something out.
Yeah. That's about like I am with my merch. It's like I don't want to put out anything that I wouldn't want to wear myself.
Exactly. And that's a smart move because you want people to wear that. You want that clothing to feel good on them and the quality to be great because then they're going to wear even more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I will be ordering me something from your merch, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We're about to get, we're in the process right now of getting new stuff up. So if you want to order something from the backlog, old stuff, there's a very limited amount of stuff, but we'll have some newer stuff with the newer logos and whatnot here pretty soon that we're going to be posting. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool. And is there any thought to maybe in the future, if you're able to find somebody that can make the masks at a reasonable price for profit, where you can profit from them? Any thought about maybe doing that? Because I had Recoil ask you about if you had masks in your merch. And
Yeah, we've talked about it. It'd have to be something that we can figure out, and it has to be able to be beneficial for us and for the person putting the work into those masks. Because I know
yeah,
that like when I've ordered them, there's a lot of they put a lot of time and effort into them. Especially the last two that I had made were uh, they were they put a lot of time into it. So um, I would hate to put something out like a mask and it's like, some crazy amount of dollars and it's because we have to make something out of it and then the mask maker has to make something out of it and then makes us look like we're greedy. So it'd have to be something that we do that wouldn't wouldn't be some crazy dollar amount maybe. Like if we were able to make a deal with somebody, but that would be cool to be able to offer that.
yeah. I know you'd have somebody purchasing one right here. It's like
I've already had I've had a lot of people hit me up because there was a fake mask going around that someone had said that like was mine and I'd worn it and whatnot, and then I completely shut that down right away. I took video of all my masks and I said, no, these are my masks, and the one that they're selling that I got this video of looks nothing like mine, and I've not sold any of them. So I've only sold one of them, and I sold it like I said because Waylon put me in contact with someone that was a serious buyer. Like he's got like all the mushroom head masks and like all sorts of
Mhm.
shit. And so I did it kind of like as a favor because the guy was really nice, really cool guy. And so that's the only one that's out there that I've sold, and I don't plan on selling any of mine as of right now. So
Right. Now, you didn't sell the one where you had to modify it yourself, where the staples that were hurting your neck. You still got
nope,
that
I have
one.
that one still. I still have that one. That
That
was
one,
my first mask ever made.
yeah.
So
I was gonna say that would be the one to hold on to.
yep, that was the very first mask I ever had made, and that's the one I took on the Mushroom Head tour. It's the one I had on the Gathering of the Juggalos. So that one I definitely don't plan on ever selling, and I like that one because I put the effort into that one for sure, like to make sure that it fit right, and it obviously cut me up some, and every time I play a show, I'd have like scratches and shit. So it's like the memorabilia for it is worth it to me. Not no amount of dollars, no amount of money is going to make me want to get rid of it or anything like that. So
And I gotta ask, how do you go about keeping the mask sanitary enough to wear it? Because like I heard stories about like Slipknot's masks, where it's like they put it on and they want to start vomiting because it stinks so bad.
they do smell. I'm not gonna lie, and like we have this thing like where we don't wash our clothes, like our stage clothes. We don't ever wash it. Like it's just it hangs. We hang it, put it in the garage, let it air dry. Don't wash it because for one, I don't know. I feel like there's something to that when you're with your stage clothes where you just it's a part of you and it just you don't want to wash it. It's like you want to put it on and wear it knowing that you put some sweat and spit and blood and whatever on it.
Yeah.
Second, I mean, a lot of the shit that we have has like all sorts of like weird shit on it that we custom put on, and so if we took it in and washed it or tried to wash it, a lot of that shit would fall off. Our recent costumes were done by our bass player Starby, so I have to give a shout out to her for the ones that you see on the music video for Agastopia. Those were done by Starby. She custom made those. But the masks, those we don't wash those either. I mean, they get washed out with our sweat, and then they get air dried, and then it does smell gross when you put it on. But what you kind of roll with it. Take a couple shots of whiskey and put the mask on, and play the show.
Hell yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's something. That's something I was wondering. It was like because I was sitting there thinking, man, Slipknot's made a lot of money. You would think that they would have several different masks that they could put on. And it's like, nope, they got the one mask and they wearing that damn thing.
Yeah. It's and for me, like I usually will like towards the end of the shows, I will take my mask off and I'll play without my mask. Because by 45 minutes in, I'm usually like I'm dead. I'm like fuck, and the lights hitting you down and all that. I don't know how Slipknot does it for 2 hours sometimes to play like that with their overalls and shit. Like that's got to be tough. But I usually by towards the end of the set, I'll take my mask off and then like there's a pool of fucking sweat just coming down my face.
Oh, yeah. It's like a lot of people don't realize how hot stage lights actually are.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And
And then you have
get
the
pretty warm.
adrenaline. Yeah, the adrenaline and the people breathing on you and those heat lamps. It's like,
Oh yeah. Now, was it hard for you to learn to sing wearing a mask?
there wasn't really any adjustment. No, honestly, like I thought it was going to be weird, and no, it's not really. I mean, unless the mask is, like, let me see, my most recent one, it moved with my mouth, so that it kind of feels weird, but I haven't had any issues. So,
Right on. What do we got? Any other questions?
Yep. Besides your brother's concussion before the set, has there been accidents or injuries on stage that are most memorable?
let's see. I mean, I've hurt myself jumping off of speakers into the crowd. Let's see, getting the blood put all over me, like the fake, or not the fake blood, but the pig's blood all over me. That was pretty gross, and puking that up. We had our guitar player Freeman. I believe it was Freeman that did. He fell through the stage at one of the venues that we played at earlier in the days because there was like a hole in it. Luckily, he didn't get hurt, but did fall through the stage. Trying to think. My brother's puked in the middle of playing shows, and he was banging on a drum, and some of the puke got in people's faces, like in the band and on the crowd. A lot of puke stories. It seems like more than anything. Injuries, I would say nothing out of the normal from jumping in the crowd and that kind of stuff, but nothing serious. Luckily, knock on wood.
Yeah. Any other ones? Any more questions?
I did. I had just had a question about your touring. Your guys' touring this last summer. How was that?
So we didn't tour this last summer, but that last tour we did was in 2018. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So that the way that happened was we got booked to play Rockfest 2018 out in Wisconsin with Godsmack, Disturbed, Rise Against, a bunch of bands, tons of bands. It was a 3-day festival. And we got invited to play it on one of the smaller stages. And then we got invited to play the Warped Tour down in Utah. Now, I believe that was the last year that they did Warped Tour. So in Salt Lake City. So when we got invited to play both of those, we found out about it in January, and we're like, this is going to happen in July. Let's just make a tour out of it. So we got in contact with promoters that we had met over the years of going through, the Midwest, and the people had been reaching out to us from, before, like, to see when we'd be coming out there. We set up a tour, made a tour out of it, and went out for what I believe was a month. Went out for a month. My work was able to let me go, and it was really awesome because we got to. I mean, they treated us very well. They put us up in hotel rooms, and we had green rooms, and they did catering for us, and it was kind of like it was us headlining the tour of our own, which was pretty awesome. And like I said, there was shows that were really good with lots of people, and then there were shows that were, you're playing for 50 or 100 people. So there was, good ones and bad ones. It was a blast. We made some more fans along the way, sold a lot of merch, got to spread the word. A lot of laughs with the band. Yeah, it's a good time.
Awesome. Let's see.
And I think that is it from what I've seen.
Yep, I haven't seen any more other questions pop up. Well, again, Cody, I got to thank you. It's been an absolute honor to have you on here.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys both, and loved being on here. And thank you guys for helping us spread the word about us and playing us and getting us on here. And like I said, next time, hopefully, we can get the other guys in the band to be on here, and we can joke around. It's when it's a group of us, we get into like this mode of like joking around a lot and picking on each other, and so it really brings the vibe out for more entertainment and probably more questions from your listeners and whatnot.
Now, does Brick still have his little squeaker?
I believe so. He does. Like I was just thinking about that the other day. He does. I believe he still does. I'll have to check on him because we're practicing on. We haven't practiced for a couple of months. And we're practicing on this Thursday, so I'll have to check in on him with that. With where Squeakers is at.
Right on. And if you could let us know when you go to drop your new single that you're
Oh, for
going to
sure.
be working on the video, let us know. We'll play the shit out of it here.
I appreciate that. I will definitely do that.
All right. Well, again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and
Yes.
we'll consider you one of the Frosty crew members here at WKoG.
Oh yeah,
And-
thank you guys so much.
And just a little something like when I heard you talking earlier about, believing in yourself, don't give up on yourself. Don't let the haters, distract you, stuff like that. It's kind of like that's what WKoG is. It's not just a radio call sign. It actually stands for We Keep On Going.
Fuck
And
yeah. That's a good motto, man.
you just don't give up and you don't give in. Don't look back. Because if you're busy looking back, you ain't gonna get too
Can't
far.
see what's ahead of you. Yep, you won't see what's ahead of you.
But again,
Fuck yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm probably gonna end up. I'll reach out to you. I'll message you. I'm probably gonna send you a shirt. So I'll get with you and we'll get you WKoG Radio shirt.
Oh yeah, I'll wear it and I'll post it on social media. So
Hell yeah. And is there any chance that we could get you to basically do a little shout out for WKoG Radio? Like, you're listening to WKoG Radio and your name, and because I will definitely use that before we end up playing one of your songs. I'll hit my little tab and it'll pop up.
yeah, do you want me to record it on my phone and then send it to you so that way it's well rehearsed and done right?
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be
I can
awesome.
do that. I can definitely do that.
Oh yeah, greatly appreciated there. Greatly
sure.
appreciated. And again, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure, and you guys are fucking awesome. Independence. I love that. I was originally going to start WKoG. It was going to be WKoG Independent Radio. And I just wanted to feature independent artists. But there's a lot of independent artists that just don't trust people. So they're like, no, I got to know more about this and that. And it's just like, look, I'm just a dude who's starting up a radio program. I'm willing to play your guys' music. And, I was trying to get written permission from people, and because I was worried about, DMCA claims and stuff like that, but I try to do everything to where royalties are paid out. And
yeah.
Unfortunately, Spotify doesn't pay hardly shit.
They don't at all.
Yeah. I mean, thousands of plays, and you guys are making pennies on a dollar.
Yep.
And
exactly.
Something needs to change. It's like when you were talking about how promoters are making so much money off of ticket sales, and then the bands aren't hardly making shit. It's like everybody that doesn't have anything to do with the show other than, putting their little 2 cents in to make as much money possible.
Yep.
And if there's anything left over after they feel like they've exceeded their expectation of what they expected to make, then they'll hand a little bit down to here and there. And some needs to change for the artist, definitely.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure that it's coming. The change is coming soon. It's like people only handle so much of this, and like as you can see, like things have only changed and changed and changed and changed over over the years once things get exploited and whatnot. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, Nashville's slowly learning that with some of the independent rappers down there, like Jelly Roll.
Jelly Roll's a badass.
He's did things that nobody would have ever thought an independent artist in Nashville would ever get the opportunity to do, like especially playing at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh hell yeah!
And so yeah, got nothing but respect for you guys doing this as independents and to make it where you guys have made it. I mean, you guys are doing good, and I expect good things for you in the future because I
Thank you.
love the new single. Love the
Thank
new
you.
single,
Thank you.
and I'm looking forward to hearing the other side of the story there when the new
Oh
one
yeah.
comes out. But again, thank you, and
Yep. Everyone in chat says thank you as well, and I do too.
Awesome. Thank you guys all.
Listening
yeah, and you have yourself a frosty evening, and look forward to having you guys on again.
For sure. Have a good rest of your night.
All right, you too, Cody.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Alrighty. There we go, y'all. There we go. Cody Perez.